On the bottom. Yeah. Oh, well done.
Okay, evening all. Welcome to our lovely meeting of the Finances and General Purposes Committee on the 7th of June 2024. Before we start, I must remind all that we are in an election period. Please do not say anything political. It's against the rules. I will shut you down if you do. I know. Okay, right. On to item 1. Apologies for absence. I've received apologies from councillors Henderson and Brennan. Do we have any other apologies for absence? No? Okay. Moving on to item number 2, the minutes from our last meeting. Does anyone have any questions about the meetings, about the minutes or anything of that sort? Am I doing things okay, Town Clerk?
I've just asked whether the minutes from an accurate record of the previous meeting.
Do we feel they are an accurate record of the previous meeting?
Right.
You. I will sign them right now. Okie dokie. We are on to our next item, number 3, declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations of interest? If they don't, that's okay. They can declare them at a later point if needed. On to the action tracker. Do any members or officers have any comments or updates from the
Page 4, if you've got.
Yeah, we can do.
No.
Would we like me to read them out? Okay, so item number 1 on the action tracker, the environmental working group will be convened, ongoing. Do we have any updates on that, officers?
Updating the compliance report.
Okay, update on in the compliance report. We've got talk of the town. Businesses will be receiving their talk of the town. Complete. The annual council meeting. The Peter Newton Pavilion has been secured for the annual council meeting.
That
Yeah,
it's happened.
that's happened. That took place already. Yeah, that's why I'm confused. Okay, Councillor O'Riordan, now Madam Mayor, asked about advertisement options on Experience Bedfordshire's website. That is ongoing. Do we have any comments on that?
So we'll probably discuss advertisement options when we get down to the communications report, and there's another question to come down.
Very nice. We've got Councillor Hollick asking about mobile advertisement signage. That is complete.
Comments, Chairman. I think it had been sort of put into store for a while, hadn't it, during the winter months, and then it came out. But surely there can be some things that we could put on it during the winter months, what we're doing in the council or something like that, and then people get used to it being there throughout the year. I'm sure there are some noble things that could go onto it for the public. Or think about that anyway.
Yeah, we could have a council meeting dates as well.
Yeah,
Where
could do that. Yeah. Thank you.
The procurement policy, Councillor Henderson raised changes and amendments to the procurement policy, which is complete. And the last one, Councillor O'Riordan, now Madam Mayor, suggested that a question regarding the public liability insurance number and company registration is added, which has been completed. Yeah, okay, on to Rachel with the marketing and communications report.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. I would like to start with the Dunsford Town Council's Facebook account has now reached over 12,000 followers. And Bennett Splash has now seen an increase of over 200 followers. And I would like to say a massive thank you to Lauren and her team for doing such a fantastic job on social media to keep everyone up to date. regularly updated, making sure they know that people, you know, that it's open or when it's closing and stuff like that. As Twitter has been experiencing a lot of changes, our audience and engagement has dropped, and as for that, we will no longer be posting or reporting on the social media channel for now, and we will keep, you know, seeing what the developments like on Twitter/X since the changes has happened. Just go down to the website. As you all know, we're hoping to retender for a new website that will be launched in coherent with the 40th anniversary of the town council. I'll be working with the compliance manager to put the tender documents together that will encompass elements that we wish to have going forwards, and also to future-proof it as well for the long run. And we're looking to get the tenders out about early mid-August. The Talk of the Town is in its design phase with Treacle Factory and myself, and we'll be delivering the Talk of the Town commencing the 5th of July. So it will take that period starting from the 5th, that will work its way through that week. Touching on advertising, as mentioned, the BMS screen is out on the square and is currently advertising the events and markets until the end of the event season, and has already been touched on, like, you know, what else could we be using it for if we were to keep it out on the square. There has been no response to date from Experience Bedfordshire to see if we can get the town council events and activities on their website, but I've constantly tried to get in contact with them, but nothing as yet. We have found that obviously from our survey data, a lot of the people do find out about our events are from the Google search or from going online and looking at our events through social media. So that seems to be predominantly where people find out about what's happening in the town, is online. However, we are going to be looking at other different avenues for advertising. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. I'll open that up to any member questions or points anyone would like to raise.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned obviously you're going to open up the advertising, because one of the things that people need to look at is trying to get people in surrounding areas to come into some of the more markets, especially where there's a limited capacity, shall we say. Obviously, some of the events are restricted for numbers, but certainly markets and maybe the motor show where we can cope with more people, have the billboards or maybe newspaper adverts. It's just that quite a few people have sort of come in from the edge of Luton, obviously quite close to us, not knowing that it was not until they sort of turned up here. Be interesting to see which avenues you explore.
Yeah. Thank you for that comment.
Great, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. Rachel, thank you. I think I say this every time, I think it's great that the social media channels continue to grow. A lot of people do still rely on Facebook, especially sort of people in my generation. Younger generations maybe not so much, but the fact that we use all of the social media channels to reach a variety of different demographics is really good. My question is with regards to Talk of the Town. I know we identified that the Talk of the Town was not delivered to new estates in Dunstable, and I believe that the leaflets, what's on leaflets, were delivered recently, and we didn't get those on my estate either, and I just wonder if we can double check that we've definitely been included on the new estates that have been built in the last 10 years. Thank you.
I'll look into that, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just in response to Councillor Taski's points, we carry out surveys after all of our events. So a couple of the things we've found from our surveys are last year, 80% of the people who came to our events came from Dunstable. Just over 13% came from Luton. So there's a fair chunk of people from Luton who know about our events and come to them. Something else we found previously is that banners and posters were the least effective way of advertising. So they were things that attracted the least people, and they're quite expensive. So we stopped spending money on banners, which we used to do for that reason. We could do, but again, we'd have to increase the budget to do that. We'd be nervous about advertising markets in Luton, because Luton have a market
that they don't advertise in Dunstable, and we'd be a bit upset if they did. So they might feel the same if we advertised ours in blue. Yeah, but as Rachel said, we'll keep looking at other methods. If you do Google what's on in the weekend in Dunstable, we do come up top, and we're working hard to make sure that carries on being the same. That's probably our most effective use of time that doesn't cost a much.
Okay. That's the whole.
Thank you. You say the next Talk of the Town is currently in the design process. Is it too late to sort of put anything in?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, unfortunately. Yeah, there will be an October edition that will
Yeah.
be for the last couple of months.
Do we have any other points or questions? Yeah, Councillor Tomorrow.
Thank you. Just a question on Talk of the Town, really. Is in terms of the advertising for local businesses, do you have any update in terms of how's that developing? Are you getting more query? Are you talking to more businesses to get them on board, stuff like that?
We have Take Tours who are advertising with us again. So they advertised in the January edition, I think it was, and they're advertising again. I do have queries coming in, but some people don't follow and proceed with the advertisement. We obviously do put in the Talk of the Town that, you know, want to advertise your business, you can advertise here. So it may be worth maybe putting a social media post out maybe to get more inquiries in to see if people want to advertise their business in Talk of the Town.
Just, and I'm not sure whether this is the right agenda item on this one or not, the councillors' surgeries and the dates that we've got those. We've also got one this Friday coming up in South Ward. It's only been advertised today. I'm just conscious that we're not giving much notice of those councillor surgeries. So it's not generating potentially a lot of people. You know, if I'm at work, I can't go on Friday, but I didn't know about it. If I'd have known last week, I might have been able to get the time out. Or I've got plans this Friday and I can't go. So I think we need to do a bit more earlier notification of those meeting dates, and then not just put it in once. It's actually drip feeding it 2 or 3 weeks in advance that there is going to be one. We might generate more footfall going forward at those events as well. But yeah, I can't be there this Friday, just work commitments, but hopefully you'll get some residents there. I understand it's in with the same time scale as a coffee morning. So hopefully by default you'll have residents there. But just going forward, I think we need to advertise them more.
Any other questions or points? Yeah, right. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you.
Excellent report. We are on to item number 6. Over to Lisa.
Yeah, good evening, members. So you've all read the finance report that concentrates on the 23-24 year-end year outturn. So just going down the actions recommended, to note the revenue budget position for the period April 23 to March 24 ended with a year-end underspend on the revenue budget of 280,000. I'll come on to that on the next slide. So 1.2, to note the council's year-end balances and earmark reserves as of the 31st of March. As you'll see in the report, the at item 4.6, it does state that we had a shortfall on the year end of £102,375. That was a result of the changeover of accountants, changes that we made last year from the previous year end. So we've allocated all of the funds that you members approved to the reserves at year end, but it has stated ended in a shortfall on the general reserve of 102,000. Just an update from today. I did some forecast work with Becky, Head of Community Services, and Lisa as Cultural Services Manager and managing Priory House. And we are, obviously it's very early days, we are forecasting that running Priory House as it is now, and how much we've spent to date, how much we predict to spend on everything, utilities, waste, etc., as well as stock for the tea room sales, that we are predicting that with the, mainly due to staffing vacancies due to the tea rooms being closed,
that we're predicting that we will have approximately £100,000 underspend in this financial year. So although it's very early, as we say, it's only June and we don't know what else is going to come up. And as mentioned in the report as well, we've still got Creasy Park to finalise, which has come out with some costs, but we're hopeful that with this predicted underspend, we will recover that shortfall in this financial year. And then to move on to 1.3, the internal, just to note the conclusion of the final internal audit for financial year ending 23-24. So you'll be pleased to note, members, that we conclude that the council maintains an adequate and effective system of internal control. And then 1.4 is to recommend to full council the appointment of the internal auditor for the third year of the 3-year plan that they provided for 24-25. And just a small note that on the strategic plan itself that I've appended it to this report, it mentions that they will visit Creasy Park in 24-25. Obviously that won't happen, so they will instead visit the Splash Park. They haven't visited their finds now. And then 1.5 is to adopt the updated Treasury Management Policy. Members may recall we do bring that every year to council. Just to update, we changed it last year, expanded on the Treasury Management Policy itself. So this year the only change is that we would work towards the general reserve being the 25% of the 24-25 salary budget, which is 522,000. Obviously, as previously mentioned, that is carrying the shortfall at the moment. We're hopeful that that will be made up in this year. And then lastly, just to note the current investments, they were as at the 31st of March and the interest that we earned on those.
Great, thank you very much. We do have no questions. Okay, let's start with Councillor Hollock.
Thank you, Chairman. No, I'm very pleased, as we always are, that the audit does conclude on all these matters, that there are no matters arising require a formal comment or recommendation. I'm very pleased that at the end of my year as Chairman of the Finance and General Purposes Committee that it's turned out like this, and I'm sure it will, under the new Chairman, turn out to be the same at the end of this time next year. But congratulations, and we're in safe hands on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollock. Councillor Kenson-Gurney, was your hand up? No, someone's hand up. Yours, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. One, this may not be a question for this meeting, but I was going to try anyway. So there's a £100 underspend on Prairie House, which is great for saving. Is that replicable next year by doing the same things purposefully?
Not. So what we advised members as we're going through the budget setting process was, given the significant uncertainty around Priory House, we kept the Priory House budget for this year when it would be if Priory House was open. So once Priory House reopens, that is the budget we will need to operate Priory House. And obviously, once Priory House is open, we have income. So we're paying staff and we're paying more staff, but there's also money coming in because we're selling stuff. So we left it there. So if it's not open for another 12 months after this 12 months of not being open, please know, then we would make a annual saving next year. But in the long term, we absolutely need that budget there when it's open properly.
We'd lose more money if it doesn't operate, basically.
If it does operate.
If it
doesn't operate, we'd lose more money than if it does.
No, so we're saying this year is because it's not very open,
yeah,
we're saving money on staffing, so we're making a saving through it not operating.
Once it's open.
Only on budget, not on actual save. Okay, fair enough.
I've got Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. Oh my gosh, I bet everybody was a little bit worried when they saw that deficit, but great that actually it can be recovered and that you've been proactive and forecasted that there are some savings. So in actual fact, it should be really good. And I think as a council, all of us together over the last few months. We've looked at the budget. You know, we've all really worked hard on that, all of us, right? And looked at all the savings we could make, and you know, the IT, thanks to James, is a lot cheaper than it used to be. So, you know, I think we've really looked at our spend and taken out what we can. Yeah, I think, you know, the council is really good to hear that. Thank you.
Councillor Jones?
Yeah, likewise, I was hugely concerned over the £102,000 deficit potentially, but hearing tonight that the potential savings that will bring us back to an even keel has pleased me somewhat, but I am still quite erring on the side of caution about the amount of money that through committees we are looking to spend. It might be an earmark reserves, but we're not going to be that far off having to start the conversations about precept for 25-26, and we need to just be cautious. In my experience, we just need to be cautious and think twice and think about the essential need of what we're spending money on.
Any other questions or points? Okay, is that item 6 concluded, or do we want to continue? Okay, so that's, yeah. Okay, so can we have a proposer to?
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to propose those 6 items to be accepted.
And a second from Councillor Jones, all in favour? Carried. Great, okay. Let's move on to item number 7. That is a compliance and facility, council's corporate compliance and facilities management report with James.
Chair, evening members. So I'll just run through my report and then take questions at the end. On a compliance front, I've just listed some just to make council aware of what compliance we're making sure we adhere to. So PAT testing, gas safety, Legionella are all in hand. And I've just made note to that the town council, along with our new IT tender or contract, is working towards Cyber Essential certification. So that's just to protect and mitigate the risks posed by very common cyber threats nowadays. Facilities, so Grove House, I will be coming on after this report regarding recommendation report for building maintenance. But just moving on to tenants, we have had one of the areas we lease, one of our tenants has voiced their intention that they're going to propose to give notice in the coming months, which would possibly result in a financial loss to the council, though does propose the opportunity, or present the opportunity to repurpose that space. And again, we could potentially hold civil ceremonies here at Grove House, which would ease the impact of the current loss of that service at Priory House. Downside, so Ringcraft Boxing have signed a 1-year extension to their licence to occupy, and that just provides further time for to agree heads of terms for a lease arrangement that they would like to discuss. The community centre has benefited from some UK SBF funding, which delivered a project from the Volunteer Yourself group. So the centre now benefits from an improved community hall, kitchen and toilets. And speaking of Ringcraft, they've already reported that they've had quite a bit of interest for hiring the venue there. So that's increased, and the project has certainly improved the interior of the community centre, which is good news. Not so good news is just we seem to have an issue. Well, we resolved it now, but there was an issue with some cesspit drainage. So that's been resolved. So the council commissioned specialist contractors ongoing investigation, and that's resolved now. So hopefully no more issues there. Projects and procurement. So at the last committee, I reported about the IT and telephone tender, which was awarded to Cloudy IT. Cloudy IT have just recently taken over and migrated all our data and taken over the telephony and connectivity for the council. And many staff and councillors here are benefiting from the improved hardware and new software applications, and it should certainly improve the efficiency and ways of working, which I know it has with the staff already. So hopefully that works for everyone, and you'll all be notified about extra training that you'll be going on. Environmental. Part of the council's quest to be carbon neutral by 2030, I've instigated the reconvening of the environmental working group. So I've contacted members who are on that environmental working group, I should say, and we're just going to agree a date to reconvene. And in the meantime, I'll be sending them our current baseline figure and proposed actions from a baseline report we had. And along with working towards carbon neutral, the town clerk, the head of services, many managers attended a carbon literacy training where we've all signed up to working towards some actions. And what I hope to do is update this committee on where we're progressing with our environmental commitments, some of the work that the staff are doing, and also working with Rachel. We're going to look to promote that council-wide to the public on just as a council what we're doing to work towards that.
Great, thank you very much, James. I've opened up to any member questions or points.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a question actually. With regards to the environmental working group, really looking forward to reconvening. I've never actually been on one yet, but what is the plan in terms of how often that group will meet? Is it every 3 months?
When that'll be something we can discuss as a working group, what the members of the group feel would be sufficient, and we can agree that at that first meeting, what as a group we feel how often we want to meet. I'd probably suggest biannually or once a quarter to begin with. We may want to do it more regularly to begin with, but I'm happy, as I say, at the group we can agree that.
Thank you, and I've got Councillor Jones.
Just want to say thank you for the way that you've handled the distribution of our IT. I think it's all gone really smoothly. Certainly the battery strength on them seems to be far more superior than the Surface Pros that we had previously. And hopefully we'll all get used to it, and the training next Monday evening ahead of full council should help us all come to terms with the steps we need to take.
Okay, do we have any other questions or points? If not, then we will move on to the next item, which is item number 8, which is James again with a Grove House building maintenance session.
Okay, thank you. So this is a purpose of the report is for members to approve release of funds from the Grove House building maintenance reserve up to the value of £226,500. So just a bit of background info. So the current reserve is at 177 plus the 49 that will be contributed this year. That's where the 226 total comes from. When I've reported previously to this committee that our contracted building surveyors, Brazier Freeth, have completed 2 surveys of the building and produced a schedule of works, and there's a 10-year plan to work to. So what I've also at this meeting, committee last meeting, I reported about the main boiler issue that we have here at Grove House. That wasn't part of what Brazier Freeth's survey and it conducted in their survey, so that's additional. And also, as I just reported, we have some tenants in the building that potentially may be vacating a space. So the main considerations for councillors are there's 4 immediate building issues that we have here at Grove House. One is the boiler and just the general heating with the building, the appearance of the front elevation, and the rain. There's significant rainwater entry. It's very difficult to say. At the rear elevation, if you've been in Paul's office, you'd have noticed that, and that's affecting certainly at the rear parapet area. It's affecting areas directly underneath that and causing quite a bit of water damage. And we also have the general appearance of the ground stairs toilets, where all of our tenants use those facilities, and staff welfare units upstairs need some love and care and attention. So the boiler replacement, the issue that we have here is that the heating across the building is very uneven. It's not distributed correctly. A full replacement would be very expensive at this time, and there's potential where we could zone off the building. So what I proposed and have quoted for is a boiler that will be able to do that in the future, so we're future-proofing ourselves. So that's what we'll be looking at. And the boiler, we're gaining quotes, as I say, and we put an indicative price there. That's something we're looking to do imminently, while it's summer and we don't necessarily need the heating one to get the boiler installed to begin with, and we know that's a known project that we need to do. So that's one I'd be looking to get hit the ground running with now. We've got the appearance of front elevation. So again, it's part of redecoration. A full refurbishment of that is would be in our 10-year plan. But what we could do at the moment is an interim measure, which would be do some local repair, which would be to a very good standard, and redecorate it, make it cosmetically more appealing, which may, if we do look to want to use an area that become available for civil ceremonies, will aid the marketing of the building, but it will provide some protection from the welfare areas that are needing some extra work done to them. So that's a bit of work that could be done, and all of these works I'm discussing can be done in isolation, so they're not part of one big project, so they can be done in be addressed separately. We've obviously then got, as I mentioned, the rear parapet gutter on the north end of the building needs repair. That is something we need to do as soon as possible because it's affecting a lot of the inside areas. And then I've just mentioned also that civil ceremonies, if an area downstairs here does become available, then we would need to spend some money to bring that up to a standard that we could use it to attract customers to civil ceremonies and gain an income. Now, although I've asked or I'm recommending that the full reserve is released or is made available, it's not anticipated that that will be used. It's just as a safety net almost. So what I'm trying to avoid is if there are some unforeseen works that need doing, it doesn't cause any time delays, then I have to come back to committee and ask for extra money that we can then actually deal with in a timely fashion. Obviously, all the officers working would seek best price. And as I say, as each individual job isn't part of one big job, we can make sure that each job's done most economically.
Great, thank you very much. That was an excellent and detailed report. I've already got 2 councillors with questions, so we'll go straight to Councillor tomorrow.
Thank you, Chair. So let me just understand this, James. Are you saying you want the total reserve released tonight? Is that's the pitch? Okay.
Well, the ability to use that total.
The ability.
If the needs must.
Okay. Yes. All right, and that's 226 wells. Right. Now, my understanding is this is a 10 years project.
No, so Brazier Thief did a full survey of the whole building.
Right.
So with there's a lot of work that needs done to this building. So we're not, what I'm proposing here isn't going to fix, isn't part of that. It's part of that 10-year program, but it's obviously not all of it. This is working some immediate issues that we need to address just to make the building safe. But there's the nature of this building and having to being grade 2 listed is there's certain things that would take a bit of time. That's part of the 10-year plan.
So I understand the grade 2. I understand this thing does cost a lot of money, but I need to understand clearly, you know, what needs to be fixed, how much is exactly they've quoted. Have they quoted 200 and something thousand for it? What exactly are we trying to approve? What exactly needs to be done? I can see 27,000 or 27,000. Is that for the boiler replacement? I can see that. What, that's 220,000 taken out of that doesn't give you, there's another 200,000 going to be sitting on the account. So I need some breakdown, sir.
So what I'm asking for is money to be spent to buy a new boiler.
Yeah, 27,000.
To address the water ingress at the rear of the building. So we need to pay money to do that. To re-render the front elevation, so all of the front of the building, to redecorate the staff toilets or the tenants areas downstairs, the welfare units and upstairs. And also it's just if the area the room next to us, if our tenants do leave there, then I've got the ability to quickly turn that into us to be able to hold civil ceremonies. So that's going to need some redecoration, some building works. So it's to do the boiler, works to the rear of the building, works to the front of the building, works to the welfare units and the toilet downstairs, and the possibility of the civil service room.
Do we have an idea how much that's actually going to cost?
At this stage, I don't have all of those quotes.
Lisa, I think.
Yeah, so when we sat with Brazier Free to go through these initial stages that we were asking for, they gave us some indicative figures. So obviously until we start going out for quotes, this is just from the consultants, if you like. So for example, they gave us a figure of around 50,000 for the rear parapet to fix the roof and all the leaks that come as a result of that. The front redecoration, I can't quite recall what the figure was, but what we can do is circulate those figures after this meeting so you can get more of an idea of why we've asked for the full amount so that we can go ahead and get this work done. As James mentioned, we're hoping not to spend the whole budget in this financial year, and we're contributing obviously when we do budget setting, we've done the 5-year budget with this in mind, that we know that it's the long game, but the works that we're asking for now come to around that figure or just below. But we just need that wiggle room, if you like, because we don't have, until we actually get on with the work and get the quotes in, we won't have the figures.
Okay. Councillor, do you want to briefly come back on that? I'm aware you've got.
Yes, I personally do think those background work needs to have come to this meeting so that we're clear on exactly what the quotations are and what the council is proposing to pay for this. So yes, you're gonna go to tender, but there's no idea at the moment. We're just saying, give me a blank check. I would not be agreeing to that. Okay, thank you.
Our next speaker is Town Clerk. No, okay. Our next speaker is Councillor Crawley.
Thank you, Chair. The civil ceremonies idea, that civil ceremonies that would potentially have been held at Priory House.
That in this immediate.
Had it been up and running?
No. So
where do we? If not, then do we have any idea how much that would? How do we have a figure in mind on how much income that could potentially get us versus how much we're going to outlay on redecorating a room just for that purpose? Because if we're just who ultimately makes that decision? Who's kind of balancing what we think we're going to get in from civil ceremonies versus the amount of money we're going to outlay on redecorating the room, the space to do that? The kind of
so the cost of decorating the room itself, could we come back to that in confidential session? That's why I'm pausing.
Yeah, sure. But I just want a decent business case for it. Otherwise, we're just decorating a room in hope that we're going to get these ceremonies in.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But
yeah.
Okay,
If we can kind of suspend the item and then come back and think of the session then.
yeah, okay, we can do that. As in, we can pull this up later.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Yeah, we can park this. I've got everyone's list of heads and hands up, so we can move on to the next
So
item.
we could go into confidential session now, but that's going to make the YouTube stream really complicated. So if we carry on with the
Okay, all right, if members are content with that, then we can pick this up later. Okay, all right, then we are on to item number 9, which is updates and reports. Oh.
No, I was going to comment on 2.1, just taking it forward a little bit more. We're not necessarily going to spend the whole of the 226, so there may be some left over. But the point that I'm going to make is that we put in 49,000 this year's budget, but to be able to get up to whatever the realistic figure might be for the next set of renovations or whatever, it's just a matter that when we set the budget, we've got to think very carefully about how much more we might need to put in. It might be more than 49,000. That's what I'm getting at. I did have one other matter. The references to the front elevation seem to be concerning more so the external finishes and the render and so on. There is a large crack in the portico. I'm wondering if that is part and parcel of this renovation as well. I know that it's been there for a long time and the portico hasn't fallen down yet, but it does need to be attended to at some stage. So is that part of this, or is this something we might have to be looking at in maybe year 2 or year 3?
So the crack on the portico is not part of this work. So absolutely the proposed work to the front is visual to make it look better. It would cost several £100,000 to do the front of the building properly, to actually take all the render off, put it back. Our advice on the portico is that it is cracked and it is leaning. However, it is at no immediate risk at all. It's safe. So it would make it look better if it was pulled back up, but that's not presenting any risk to the building at the moment. So we don't see that as much as priority as, for example, in the water ingress, which is going to be.
Thank you.
Okay, are we picking up the rest of that item? Yeah, okay, so everyone's order of hands is still noted down. We'll pick up the rest in the confidential sector of the meeting. So we are on to item 9 then, updates from external bodies. We start with, from memory, the Citizens Advice update, I believe.
Yeah, that's myself. Yeah, there's been, well, since the report I gave at the previous meeting, which was quite comprehensive, and then last board meeting that I went to, there's not been any other meetings since, so I've got no really other updates to give to that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. We can move on to the Dunsfold Town Twinning Association. Do we have any updates?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Chairman. We did have a meeting about 10 days ago or so. It had been mooted that maybe the sort of that side of the twinning may be coming to an end, but there were a couple of us who certainly didn't want to see that happen. And what we decided to do was to make another approach to various bodies. And I undertook to talk to a few of you, and one or two, three of you, I think, I've already spoken to. Prospect of becoming maybe a member, not necessarily on the committee, but I think it would be useful if more councillors could be seen to be part of this. I mean, clearly there is a civic side and a sort of community side, we can put it like that. The civic side being invitation from mayor to mayor, and then that would obviously involve the council. And there's the other side, sort of community side, where to the chairman of the Twinning Association. Clearly there is some sort of overlap where if it's the latter, then quite often the mayor will put on a reception here for visitors, and the other way round. If there is a mayor to mayor, then the Twinning Association can be involved in some event or other to entertain the guests. So the long and the short of it is that we are now approaching others to become members. It's only £5 a year. I have some leaflets here. I think most of you have had the brochure that I did for the 50th anniversary of the Dunstable International Twinning Association. We would like to, as I say, can carry on. I've got some membership forms here as well. If anyone else is interested, I've already handed out a couple. So that's the update, that it's still going. We're looking for meaningful members and carrying on from there. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Hollick. Does anyone else want to speak on that matter? If not, we can move on to Office at Home Management Committee. Councillor Baker.
As yet, I haven't had a meeting, but I believe there's one in July.
There's annual general meeting is on July the 2nd. The trustees are all getting together next Tuesday evening to have a discussion around the table around funding and how we go forward in identifying new funding streams to continue the service that they deliver.
Very much. Okay, on to the next one, Ashton Almshouse's charity. I don't know if Madam Mayor has anything to add to that item. If not, I can remember a few things from the meeting.
Report back on our last meeting. Yes, we had a meeting in May. Everything was in really good shape. Finances are great. We approved a quote for some new garden standing chair and for some work in the garden, which will allow the residents to enjoy the garden more. Very sturdy furniture, because obviously some of those residents might have issues with furniture that's not heavy and it might fall over. So what else? There was a unit, one of the flats was empty for quite some time, which meant it was not taking up too much of the funds, but it being empty obviously did lose some money, and we approved for a tenant to fill that unit, and I know that that person has now moved in. So they're at full capacity, everybody remains happy, and I think that is it.
Great. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Ashton Schools Foundation, Councillor Hollick.
Thank you. Yes, it's a continuing work being done by both Manshead School and Ashton St Peter's Primary School from the monies that were realised from the sale of the middle school when it was squeezed out. Both schools have benefited considerably from the monies that have been put their way. I think the last building operation will probably be carried out from the summer holidays, and that will finish that element of the work that the foundation has been dealing with for the past few years.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hollick. Shoes Foundation, Councillor Kenson-Gurney.
I couldn't get to it. Matt went, but I couldn't get there. So
Okay, fair enough. We shall
have to see what that says.
Okay, Paws Land Charity, Councillor Hollick Jones.
So we carried out the Maundy Thursday giving, which was received extremely well by the 70 or 80 residents that came in to collect it that day. Just on this matter, I believe Councillor Hollick, you're now on that as a trustee separately, and it was Councillor Kenson-Gurney that we put in place at the AGM.
Yes.
Can you just check the representation, please, for future meetings? Please. But yeah, all in place. Our next meeting is not till February next year. We only meet twice a year, literally, to agree the sum of money and then the hand in, and then to give the money. So we've got a lull in meetings.
Thank you very much. Lockington Charity and Marsh Charity.
Yeah, this one I did get to. It was quite good. We inspected. There's some rubbish to be cleared away, but they need a letter to tell them we're going to take it away, just in case they don't want us to take it away. But a bit of tidying up there. One of the properties is empty and requires rewiring. That's been put in hand. Heating is an issue, as is insulation, but that's been put in hand. There's a curious leak problem to the rear of the building, which is affecting all 6 properties apparently, but 1 or 2 persistently, and this is surprising because it's just been repaired. But that's been investigated. The empty property will get a heater before it's reoccupied, and it will be wired to a safe standard. There's also some minor structural issues with 3 stairs where there should be 2, which makes certain rooms unsuitable for the use for which there, but that's being looked into. Finances are strong because investments are doing well. The fiscal position was quite good, and the operational position is acceptable.
Thank you. Very nice report. And last but not least, Dunstable District Scout Executive, Councillor Kowalski.
Thank you, Chair. Been attending the committee meetings on a regular basis. The main AGM's coming up this Wednesday. There will be a new leader elected. Other than that, the finances are good. You know, as well, so maybe we need a representative. Yeah, representative still.
So different to me being on office at home and being.
Thank you very much. All right, then we shall move on to item number 10, which is the recommendation that we move into a confidential session. Are members happy to move into a confidential?
Propose.
Proposed, seconded, all in favour?